Hey everybody, this is David here. Um, here going over the U.S. Chess Champion chess games. If you haven't already, you can check out the earlier rounds on my channel. I've covered the U.S. Chess Championship and the Women's Chess Championship. I've also uh, I've also been covering Coach Champs and Hikaru Nakamura's games as well. So there's plenty to watch. Today we're going to be going over round 4 of the U.S. Chess Championship. And it looks like we got mostly draws today. We'll start with Andy Woodward. He had the white pieces against Wander Liang, who had the black pieces. Accuracies were equal, both 96.2%. And we'll see what happened. So we started with the Catalan opening. Turned into a Queen's Gambit. Get a lineup on the C file with the Queen and Rook. Traded off a few pieces, including the queens. First inaccuracy. Let's see what white should have done. Looks like knight to c5 was the best move. Bringing the knight back into the center. But instead we got knight e5. But it basically brings the game back to an even score. White's only got a slight edge. But the knights get traded. I mean, it looks like white has the slight edge because of its active pieces. Black's bishop really isn't doing anything. Got another inaccuracy. Let's see. Looks like f5 would have been better. And then the pawn should get traded off. Looks like black's up a pawn now. But it's still a very slight edge for white, which is surprising considering black's up a pawn. But it looks like white gets the pawn back. And it just looks like an even position. Another inaccuracy. Looks like knight c2 was a bit better. That would have kept the game about equal. But due to this inaccuracy, now black's up 3 points. So that was a big mistake. But it looks like black doesn't seize the opportunity. Looks like rook a1 or rook e1, and black could have capitalized on white's mistake. But that didn't happen. So instead we get g6, and then the game's pretty much even again. Both pawns get traded. Black's up a pawn temporarily. Now it's even. They're both pretty even on the clock. Finally, the minor pieces get traded off. And finally, they agree to a draw. So it looks like A Wander Liang had one chance to get a huge advantage in this game, but didn't capitalize. Otherwise than that, the game was pretty even. So on to the next game. We have, in this game, Grigory Oparin with the white pieces versus Ray Robson with the black pieces. The accuracies were a bit lower in this game, but they're both pretty equal. Both had about 93 point. Well, Grigory had 93.7%, and Ray Robson had 93.6%. Pretty close. And we'll see what happened in the game. This time we get an English opening, symmetrical variation. And everything's pretty symmetrical right now. Till now. Black's getting pretty active with his rook and queen. Finally get an inaccuracy. I guess the best move would have been king to g7. But white's got almost a whole point. Well, any other move and white would have a whole point advantage. So white has a slight edge. But now white's got a point and a half if black plays queen takes d5. And of course he does. Got another inaccuracy. I guess queen f4 check would have been the better move. But if white would have done that, white would be up 2.5 points to 3.5 points, somewhere between 2 and 3 points. So a significant advantage. Unfortunately, white does not play that. Instead, we get d7, and now white only has a very slight edge. And white can't accept the checks, so it is a draw. So it looks like there was only one point of the game where white could have taken a huge advantage in the match. Otherwise than that, it was pretty much normal play throughout the game. So Grigory had one chance to take the game, but failed to do so. In the next game, we have Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces against Sam Sevian with the black pieces. Their accuracies were pretty high in this game. Fabiano had a 97.5%, while Sam Sevian had a 98.3%. Looks like it was a pretty short game. Got a Roy Lopez. Looks like Rook A2 was an inaccuracy. Looks like a much better move would have been Bishop to E3 or King to H1. I guess King to H1 makes this file open to the Rook, and of course Bishop to E3 just develops a piece. So both would have been good options. Instead we got Rook to A2. And we got an inaccuracy by black. Looks like Queen to F5 would have been much better. I guess threatening again to take the pawn with the knight, and then the pawn would have been pinned to the queen. But it's still a pretty equal game. White only has a very slight edge, so it wasn't too big of an inaccuracy. And that was a threefold repetition, so it's a draw. And I'm guessing there's a good chance they knew this all the way to the end from the beginning of the game. So they got a quick draw. Nothing really happened in this game. There was like 2 slight inaccuracies, but nothing that really would have decided the game. In the fourth game, we have Levon Aronian with the white pieces versus Darius Swirtz with the black pieces. Their accuracies were pretty high. Levon had a 98% accuracy, and Darius had a 97.8 accuracy. And we get an English opening. I didn't see any inaccuracies, but at the moment, white's up 3/4 of a point. So slight edge. Finally get an inaccuracy. Doesn't seem like a major one. Looks like King E3 would have been a better move. Or H4. Another move could have been F4. Looks like those are the 3 three best moves. But instead we got b3, which dropped it right back down to a draw. Only a slight edge for white. No other pieces on the board, so it's a draw. There were hardly any mistakes in that game. Definitely a 98% accuracy for sure. There was like 2 inaccuracies, but they didn't. I don't think they would have decided the game. So another draw. Next game we have Abhimanyu Mishra with the white pieces versus Wesley So with the black pieces, and they had a 99% accuracy, over a 99% accuracy. So pretty solid game. We'll see how it went. We finally get a D4 opening this time. We get a Queen's Gambit declined. Transpositioned into a Catalan opening. And we got another draw. There were no inaccuracies, no blunders, no mistakes, nothing at all in this game. It was just a clean play from both sides and ended up being a draw. So yeah, that one was pretty even. And finally, in the last game, we have Sam Shanklin with the white pieces versus Hans Niemann with the black pieces. The lowest inaccuracies of all the games. Sam only had an 87% accuracy, while Hans had a 91.1% accuracy. And it was the only decisive game in the match today. Starts off with the Queen's Pawn opening and turns into a Nimzo Indian. We get our first inaccuracy from Hans. Looks like bishop to c2. Whoops, not there. Bishop to c2 would have been better, attacking the queen. And white's knight and bishop would have been really active. But it would have only given white a slight edge. So not a huge inaccuracy. But actually now, because of that move, white has over a point advantage. So actually it was a pretty big mistake. So the only move was to attack in that position. Sometimes that's the only move. And there was a missed opportunity. Looks like just making sure. It says knight to b5 was the best move. And not sure. I guess after this, you're attacking the knight twice. It says black's best move would have been knight to c2. But we didn't get that. Instead we got a6. And we got g3. It was another inaccuracy, a big one. Gave the advantage to black by a good point and a half. Let's just see what white should have played. Looks like bishop to d1 was the best move. After that, looks like bishop to f3. And the third best would have been f3. But we didn't get that. Instead, we got queen to b2. And we got another inaccuracy. Looks like the queen should have taken the knight. That would have given black a point and 3/4 an advantage. Got another inaccuracy by white. Looks like bishop to d1 was the best move. Got another inaccuracy. Rook b1 was not the best move. It's like bishop to e1. I guess there's just not really anything to do in this position, so just shuffling the bishops back seems to be the best moves. There was a missed opportunity from black. Looks like bishop takes g3. So if bishop would have taken, f takes, then rook g6. Bishop e1. And then queen takes h4. That's huge advantage. Almost 4 points advantage. Oops. Here we are. Instead, we didn't get that. We got rook takes h4, which brings black's advantage down to less than half a point. Black's got a huge attack. A couple brilliant moves by Hans and a big mistake by Sam. Let's see. Looks like rook takes b7 would have been the best move. It looks like to take advantage of white's mistake, black would have had to play bishop f2. Just put more pressure on this bishop. But I do note Hans is down to 1 minute, so he's probably having a tough time finding the best moves. And here, white resigns. Looks like the best move to continue moving rook to b1. But then black just takes the pawn. And just going up a pawn would have been too much. So there was no point in going on. And Hans wins the only game today. And let's take a look at the standings. Looks like we got Wesley So in clear first with 3 points. Then we got Fabiano Caruana, Levon Aronian, and Hans Niemann tied for second. And then we got four others tied for 5th place. Then 3 tied for 9th place. Then Andy Woodward is in last. I think there's still like 7 rounds left. There'll be a round tomorrow, round 5. And I'll be covering that as soon as it's over, as well as the Women's Championship, which I will be covering round 4 next. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this saves you a lot of time if you don't have time to watch the actual live, when the games are live, because that could take like 7 hours out of your day. I hope this provides a way so you can view the game and use less of your time. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and watch the other videos. If there's another tournament that is on chess.com, then just let me know and I'll try to cover it. But I hope you enjoy your day and stay tuned for more. Bye.